be able to appreciate some of the issues that you may encounter while addressing these issues of safety and health programs. One is that employees sometimes are usually afraid to air it out, and therefore, out of this safety and health committee, we should be able to devise some mechanism on how this can be handled, so that you can be able to, as much as possible, get to know how the employees are faring on, so that you can be able now to tailor-make some of the programs that can be able to eradicate the issues of that fear of an employee probably approaching the employer and airing their views. And from that, of course, the denial issues are then probably erased. Okay, that's just an example of wellness programs. Sometimes, of course, the issues of, I know George will be picking a lot in terms of how we usually sit in our offices, how we position ourselves while working, how long should we be able to sit in our offices. We usually have some healthy walk a little bit instead of probably being seated the whole day. Those are some of the wellness programs that George will be able to speak it out as he addressed the specific issues relating to wellness programs. And this is just to appreciate some of the employers, which is a very sad note, that some of the employers probably have not really addressed this issue, where the employees do not have proper sitting arrangement, and this may cause a lot of injuries to an employee. Okay. Okay, so as we wind up, those are some of the wellness programs to be able to appreciate. And then the next slide is, I think this is just wellness program, and the next slide is about the issues of how it right in terms of the balanced diet to ensure that we are healthy and well, so that we can be able to discharge the mandate of the organization. Thank you so much, team. I've just taken a few minutes just to run through the introductory bit. I'll now invite George so that he could be able now to address the specific issues relating to safety and health at workplace, bringing it out from the perspective of occupational health and safety, as well as addressing some of the key areas, compliance areas that have been put in place for employees for the employer to adhere to, so that the issue of safety and health, safety and health of the employee is addressed. I think just to introduce, George is a occupational health and safety officer, works as a business development officer for Capacity Spring Africa. He's a certified occupational health and safety person. He's also qualified in criminology, security and criminology, and he's done also a degree in anthropology. So with those vast experience and the qualification, he should be probably in a position to address quite a number of things relating to occupational health and safety. Thank you so much for having listened to me. And at this juncture, let me now welcome him to guide us to the next stage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening to the members who have been able to participate in today's activity. So before we start off, I just want to appreciate ourselves for creating space and time to participate in this very vital session. I'll call it more of a sensitization than training session because I believe most of the human resource practitioners are at the center of safety and health of employees and their welfare within their respective facilities, workstations, and institutions. So I'll just go through it just as a continuation of what has been presented by Mr. Jonathan Kipchoge. So part of what you're going to look at is basically issues of compliance and safety and health. And just to set the ball rolling, I'll just try to share a picture for us just to internalize some of the key challenges that we may experience or we may be exposed to in terms of risk or hazard at our respective workstations. Just as we reflect, try and think of the listed ones or the images presented, which one present your day-to-day life at workplace. If you're in the industries, supporting industries, what are the likely risks? Office setup, what are the likely risks? Hospital setup, what are the likely risks are you exposed to? If you're an office person, administrator, with the certain sitting position, type of seats, basically, how does it look like? Dealing with machines, how are we exposed? So as we internalize on that one, I'll be asking a very simple question. I usually ask this question all the time, and maybe as we proceed, I'll be expecting some few responses in the chat section, and we'll try also to explain it in that context. Maybe my question will be very simple. How do you put a giraffe into a refrigerator? So I'll be expecting maybe responses in the chat section as we proceed. And let's see if it makes sense by the end of this training. So I'll start by just looking at the few terms that we're going to deal with in the course of the presentation. I'll start with safety. Basically, in our context or in the context of occupational safety and health, which will have a small introduction on it, is anything that protects the employees within a workstation from any health hazard, economical losses, physical damage, accidents, error, harm, or any other type of consequence that may result as a failure of a system or a process at your respective workstation. And then another important term we are going to look at is the issue of health. And our definition for health will be in terms of the World Health Organization definition of health, that is necessarily not being absence of disease, but basically that state of completeness in physical, mental, and social well-being. And in that context, we're going to look at occupational safety and health now as a whole. And we are saying that this is a standard set for occupiers. Remember, if you look at the history of occupational safety and health, it goes way, way back during the IBEACO, that is in the early 1900, when we were still under the IBEACO, that's the British. I'm trying as much as possible to avoid the word colonization. During that time, we had most of the employees were African, and therefore there was need to protect them from any injuries as they partake in their day-to-day activities. If you look at the framers of this act, it was basically defined for those working within industries, but with time, after exposure to the law, it moved and cropped in to accommodate all forms of employment, be it office-related, professional-related, industrial, physical, or basically a setup per se. So the adoption of Occupational Safety and Health Act was basically to provide a space that ensures that the practices, the methods, operations, and activities are aligned towards a set threshold on what is defined as a safe working environment and what is defined as a healthy work environment. The importance of it is that occupational safety and health move away from the traditional basic away from danger or away from threat to that covers or protects the welfare of the employees in their respective workstations. So we are saying that it's a conglomeration of fields or professions that define safety and health issues, that is protection from threat and also an environment that is conducive, that defined as healthy within those contexts. Some of the foundational factors that have been stipulated to define and also define safety and health is the fact that one will want protection of the workforce. And if you look at the Occupational Safety and Act of 2007, which was amended in 2010, it clearly defines some of the key terms in terms of safety, in terms of health, in terms of workstation, and also in terms of who is an employee or who is an employer. And if you look at its efficiency, for it to be more efficient, we usually define employee better as a worker than as an employee. Because in this case, for us to protect safety, then it has to be within a given context, and this is defined by individuals' workstation. So in our definitions, safety is to protect the individuals, that is the workers at their workstation. And also, if this is well articulated, then it's going to foster productivity and efficiency, because staffers will work without any fear. Staffers will work within amicable and viable workstations. And also the officers at their respective stations will know that irrespective of the circumstances that may come, they have a cover that will protect their spaces at workplace. And then for the purpose of also the government. So the purpose of the government is that to reduce as much as possible accident at workplace. And therefore, through this act, then we are going to review, assess, investigate, and also audit our workstations so that we develop a better structure and system that is tailor-made to meet the conditions of our workstation and also provide the most conducive environment for our employees. We'll realize that the Occupational Safety and Health Act is a product of the International Labour Organization. What we need to know is that we have subscribed to the International Labour Organization, and because of that, then we have to live to the stipulated threshold set in relation to safety and health. And according to the set stipulations, some of the key issues that have been identified is that the occupational safety and health should work as a tripartite. By tripartite, it means it looks at the government, it looks at the employee, and also it looks at the employer. So it provides a space whereby the approach given looks at the interest of the employer, look at the interest of the employee, and also the interest of the government itself as a structure. Like any act, being an act of parliament, laws are there to provide regulations. And this act is stipulated to do that, to ensure that it provides regulations that define what's a safe working place, that defines what's a healthy workplace, that defines what are the systems and processes and structures that needs to be put in place to sustain the progress, and also what needs to be done to review from time to time to ensure that we meet those standards as set by law. So we're looking at the applications. We are saying that some of the principles that we utilize when protracting this law is that this act applies to all forms of businesses and to all owners, employers, workers, and clients, what the law or the act refers to as the occupiers. What we're trying to say is that as we are developing a safety and health system in our respective workstations, we have, as we put in measures, we look at the owners. What is the role of the owners? We look at the employers. What is the role of the employers? And also we look at the workers. How do we ensure that they are safe, and what is their role and what are their rights? And then also the clients, because the clients form basis and part of the occupiers, because as long as they're in our workstations, then they become within the framers of the act or the safety measures that we've put in place on that front or on that space. So moving on, trying to explain further what these principles of occupational safety and health may refer to. We are just saying that health and safety is a management responsibility. And as human resource managers or individuals within the administrative or managerial role, then it means we are at the center stage in the ensuring its efficiency in the institutions and also protraction of quality in service delivery. So we are saying that it's a managerial role, and therefore it means we are at the forefront in ensuring safety of the employees under our jurisdiction. And also it means we have a duty to ensure efficiency of the systems put in place and also sustainable systems also that are functional within those prospects. And then also we are saying that it calls for effective cooperative and coordinated efforts. And by this, we are going to expound further as we look at the structures and systems of occupational safety and health within our respective workstations, and also the supervisory role, the need for communication, the need for training to ensure that the system is sound enough, to ensure that the system is sustainable or self-sustaining, and also to ensure that it improves through monitoring and evaluation of its system within a given period of time per se. And then also we are saying that as a matter of principle, occupational safety and health is very essential as an element of the business plan. The way we develop different structures as we look at profit and loss, as we look at our market niche, as we look at our business structures, as we look at our strategic plan, then that's the same way as we plan. We also look into the issues of occupational safety and health because they form the centermost production component in ensuring that the productivity of the employees is at its peak and also at its best. And this can only be achieved if we live within the prescriptions or the definitions of occupational safety and health within or as ascribed by the Act itself. And then also one of the principles also, which is very, very critical, is the principle of development or establishment of a framework. And this framework basically defines to us the type of trainings we need to strengthen the occupational safety and health within our work systems, the type of equipments we may need, and how can they be best handled to reduce any threat or exposure to hazards, and also the type of clothing or protective gear, what we call the PPEs, the employees may need at their workstations. When it comes to aspects of exposure, especially for those working within spaces where there's radiation, where there's infrared emission, or there's any exposure, how do we handle it to ensure that it does not move on to affect them within health, within the short term or the long term, by putting into consideration the key in prescriptions on the issues of medical surveillance. Once we've done that as part of the introduction, then we look at the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. And this is a very critical component for the human resource and the managers and any individual aspiring to work in those prospects, because as part of it, we have the role of developing policies. The same way we develop the human resource manual procedures is the same way it's our responsibility to ensure that we have in place the occupational safety and health policies. And these policies, as we develop them, each and every occupier should contribute to its protraction or its development. By this, it means it has to be a participatory process, because for it to really be reflective of the activities within the given workstations, then the contributions must be for those individuals who are directly in contact with the hazards, with the threats, with the risks in the different workstations that they are per se. And as we look at this administration, we'll try as much as possible to look at our respective workstation. If you work in an industry where there are machines, where there is noise, where there are emissions, how does this policy work? If you're working in an office setup where we have a team that's always in the field, a team that's always in the office setup, the type of seating, the type of cloak rooms, and all these factors that define safety and health, how do they look like, and how do we define them in the policy in ensuring safety? So policy plays a very key role, because through the policy, then will come the point of implementation. And before that, we do to organize, and organization is in terms of responsibility. And here we are going to look at how do we form the Occupational Safety and Health Committee in our facilities, and also in terms of competence, what types of training do they need for them to be able to sustain these systems? What type of sensitizations have to be done from time to time to ensure that these systems are functional, and the employees, employers, and even the clients can appreciate them in their day-to-day activities. Then also the issue of documentation also will be very key. What type of documents do we need? How do we develop them? For example, we have the incident forms. How do we develop the incident form? In case somebody gets injured, what is the process as captured in the policy? If somebody gets injured, it needs to be reported, and this report has to be captured maybe in the reporting form. And then from the reporting form, the committee will call for a sitting, review the report, then carry out an investigation. Then from the investigation, a determination shall be made if the employee was on the wrong or on the right. And then what does the policy say? And what are some of the measures that need to be put in place? If he's injured, do we have a cover for them? In relation to the WIBA Act, how do we capture them? So all those issues are captured on the aspects of documentation. And then communication is very key in ensuring that the message is structured and the vision of the committee is well articulated in all fronts and well protracted to ensure that each and every employee within that context or as an occupier understands to the latter what is expected of him or her. Because if you look at the Occupational Safety and Health Act, I think the last section talks about the role of the employee and also the role of the employer within this act, and also the rights and privileges that the employer have and also the employee have in their respective workstation. So by any chance, if you neglect the regulations put in place, then you are liable. Like any other offense, you are liable to undergo a legal proceeding and be charged in that process. And then the key part also that comes in the issue of the planning and implementation, this calls for review from time to time. It calls for development of systems. How do we formulate the committees? Who comprises the committee members? For how long should they serve in office? What is their role? How many times should they meet from time to time? All those issues will form a very critical role in the planning and implementation. And then we'll want to understand the objectives. And these objectives have to be very clear and smart, that they have to be measurable and time-bound within the given framework of action. And then as part of implementation, remember we say for the environment to be safe, it means we are protecting the employees from any risk. If the employee is a secretary and he sits on the same seat the whole day, how do we ensure their safety to safeguard their backs? Okay. If an employee is working in an industry without the PPE kits, without the gloves, without the goggles, without the masks, what threat are they exposed to in those prospects in relation to the hazards in those areas, also in respect to the risks that they are exposed to? Even employees working in a hospital setup, then we'll be asking ourselves, what are some of the measures put in place to safeguard them? Because we're not saying that because the hazards are there, we should stop working. So if the hazards are there, then you have to find ways and measures to reduce the impact or the level of the risk, and also in the process to put in place strategies and measures within our resources. It doesn't have to be an expensive expedition, but within our resources to safeguard those processes and procedures and safeguard our employees per se. If the employee is a security officer and he stands the whole day, what will he need in terms of a safety measure to safeguard them? If the employee is working as a tractor driver or is a farmer, what are the safety measures that we need to do and follow up to the latter to do that? So once we've put in place the systems that provides checks and balances, systems that are measurable, functional, and systems that are within the prescriptions of the act, then we'll move to the evaluation, because from time to time, we need to assess the productivity, functionality, and sustainability of the system. And this evaluation is done through 3 ways. One of them is through the M&E, the normal monitoring and evaluation, which is done from time to time. And then we have the investigation. Investigation happens in case of any reporting. Somebody may report that I feel like the files are going to fall on me. If that's reported, then investigation is to be done and measures put in place. Then according to the act, which we're going to look at shortly, there's the issue of the audit, which is done within a given time frame. And then we have the management review in terms of the composition of the committee itself, the available resources, and also the financial implication of the processes. And then once that has been done, remember we are saying this is a continuous process that does not just stop once, but continues. We have the action for improvement. Then after the reports in the process of evaluation, what measures or corrective measures do we put in place and how do we handle it? Just as an extension of what we've just mentioned, we've talked about the Occupational Safety and Health Committee and also its administrative roles. We're saying that its main role is in the implementation. It's just a vehicle. This vehicle's role, just like any other vehicle, is to ensure that the vision and mission of the act through the structures put in place by the management are implemented. So for this implementation to take place, then there has to be a team that has been accorded that role or duty to safeguard these processes. So this committee's number is not always fixed. It depends, one, with the size of the organization, the number of staff, number of departments, and also the need or the level of the committee or this implementation of the safety and health within the facility. But you're saying that it's always functional when you have a lean team. It's easy to work with a lean team than a huge team. But the key positions within the committee is the chair and also the secretary. So the chair is the one who calls the meeting, and in most cases it's recommended, since the secretary is the one who does with the reporting, to be the one who is well trained, and in most cases in structured and established systems, then the secretary is always the occupational safety and health officer for the facility, because he's required to understand, be the professional, the one who understands the processes and the systems as they work. And if the team has not reached to that level, because we have scenarios whereby institutions don't even have the committee, but there's the human resource officer or manager on the ground. Therefore, the occupational safety and health issues solely fall on the shoulder of the human resource manager, because these are social, their welfare issues that affect the employees in their workstation. So therefore, they have a very key role, the committee, in the implementation. So first, they participate in the development of the occupational safety and health manual, and then 2, in the sensitization of the programs, and then 3, in the implementation of the programs themselves. And therefore, we are saying that they have a key role in ensuring the maintenance and functionality of the safety and health systems at workplace. For example, we can just ask ourselves a simple question. Do we have drinking water in our offices? Somebody may ask themselves that question and ask themselves, is it a safety issue or is it just a normal issue? In terms of administration, somebody may ask ourselves, as we sit, if somebody collapses or faints, we have somebody who can carry out the simple first aid before the medics arrive. Then we ask ourselves the same question. In case of fire, there may be fire extinguishers, but do we have somebody who can use the fire extinguishers in case of fire? Do we have fire safety measures or protocols that in case of fire, we know where the fire assembly point is? In case of fire, we don't use the lifts. In case of fire, we raise alarm and run to safety. In case of fire, what are the processes? In case of people with disability, how do we handle them in case of safety towards these issues? In case of any disaster, are we able to handle and deal with them? So all these issues are part of the things that will define the functionality of the system, because it will be nonsensical to put in place fire extinguishers, to put in place fire safety protocols, yet nobody understands them, 1, or 2, nobody can use the existing fire safety measures or fire safety equipments put in place. So we're saying that to sustain this, then the OSH committee has a key role in ensuring that the systems put in place can be implemented or are implementable within those contexts of functionalism per se. So once we've put in place the committee, which we've said the chair and the secretary are the key roles, the others could depend with the nature of the institution or as captured in the occupational safety and health, then they have a key role. Let's assume we are moving from scratch. We want to put in place safety measures in our institution. According to the Occupational Safety and Health Act, the first step to putting in place safety measures in your institution is by registering your site. So sometimes we may ask ourselves, are our workstations registered sites? And if they're registered sites, have there been an inspection done to ensure that at least we understand how much we've complied in relation to the Act, how much we've complied in relation to the measures need to put in place, or how much we've complied in terms of the structuring and the systems of safety within that. So if you're starting from that front, then what forms the basis of the inspection is basically the risk assessment. And in evaluation, we say risk basically is the level of hazards exposure within a given area. So first things first we do is that we go to the people sitting in the office and we ask ourselves, what risks are they exposed to? Can a file drop on them? Is the sitting position bad because of the type of chairs they're using? They're worn out chairs. Is it because of the sitting arrangement? Are the offices congested? Per se, is the lighting poor? Is there adequate ventilation? And what could be the likely ramifications if measures are not put in place? So if that is the case, then the first part of the inspection or the risk assessment is basically to identify the hazards. So once we've identified the hazards, then we go to the next level of assessing. To what level are we exposed to these hazards? If it's poor ventilation, and we are overpopulated within that office, then what measures can we put in place to treat or to avoid that? If it's the lighting that is poor, what do we need to do? Like, for example, we usually say in a 300 by 300 meter office, at least if you're using fluorescent tube, make sure that there are two. That office should at least at maximum occupy at least 4, at maximum 5 individuals. It must have adequate ventilation. Waste management has to be put in place depending with the type of waste coming from the production process and others. And then we go now to the nitty-gritties. How are the seating? How are the sittings? We usually recommend that in an office setup, the seats must be adjustable. So do we have adjustable seats? If they have casters, that is if they move, do they cause any vibration as we move from side to side? Do we need a carpet to have a carpet on the floor if we have the casters? What's our sitting position? Is it upright? Is it as recommended in terms of arrangement? Do we use our hands well, or do we suffer from scalpel from time to time because of that? So these are the things we're going to assess from time to time and then give reports. And these reports will play a key role in treating and avoiding the same, and also in the overall monitoring and evaluation. We've seen scenarios whereby in case of fire, I remember we did a fire drill, which is a requirement that within 12 months, you need to do a fire drill or within an institution in one of the universities around. And unfortunately, what we saw was very, I may not use the word traumatizing, but very interesting, because the response was, instead of people running to safety, everybody was running towards fire to take selfie with the fire. You know, nowadays we're in the live world of taking pictures and posting. So everybody was taking selfie with the fire and posting. So those are some of the things that may come up from time to time in terms of such spaces. So we're saying that for us to monitor, then we need to create spaces for assessing. If we say that we have fire safety measures put in place, then through these drills, we'll know, are we ready? In case somebody faint, can somebody resuscitate that person? If somebody has allergies, maybe to certain type of smell or certain type of dust, if there's an allergy attack, can we deal with it and others? So all these measures are put in place. Do we have first aid kits? And even if we have them, do we know how to use them? Because sometimes we do them just for compliance purposes by putting them, but they're not really meant to live to that expectation. So once we've put in place a system that is functional, then we move to the next step, where that by law, we need to do what we call site audit. So site audit is done by certified individuals. So if you look at the Occupational Safety and Health Act, we have what we call delegation of duties. By structuring, at the top, we have the NAOSH, that's the National Authority for Occupational Safety and Health. This has been devolved through what we call the Directors of Occupational Safety and Health, DOSH, to the county levels. I think the NAOSH is trying as much as possible that each county should have its own DOSH, Director of Occupational Safety and Health. So it has not fully realized that because of, I think, financial related issues and other factors. So through the DOSH, then the DOSH delegates certain roles to certain professionals, because we have the Occupational Safety and Health Auditor, Occupational Safety and Health Trainer, Fire Safety Trainer, and Fire Auditor. And also we have Occupational Safety and Health Therapists. These are positions that have been delegated, and how to qualify for them is well prescribed by the Occupational Safety and Health, and also who appoints these individuals to serve in this position. So part of what these people do in the fire audit, for example, in the fire audit, what they look for is, one, do we have fire safety policy as part of the Occupational Safety and Health? Because remember, initially, fire was falling under NEMA, but it was moved from NEMA to OSH. Through that, then we ask ourselves, do we have a policy in place? Once we have a policy, has it been synthesized in the sense that it's simplified so that each and every employee can understand it? And are the employees sensitized on this? So through this, we'll have the safety protocols, safety systems, and safety calendars. So these fire protocols could be in terms of, in case of fire, how do we respond? In case of that fire also, how do we report? In case of any injuries, how do we report these injuries? because we've realized that in most cases, most companies tend to silence their employees from reporting. But remember, the importance of this reporting is that one, justice will prevail. And then number two, through the statistics we get from the type of injuries exposed by employees in different workstations, it informs the formulation of the law itself, and therefore it builds the law itself. So this data is very key in the building of the OSH Act itself. Remember, we said it was enacted in 2007 and it was reviewed in 2010. And therefore, this review in most cases is based on the research or the feedback received in the implementation of the law itself. So the audit process, as I said, is done by a certified auditor, OSH auditor, and this has to be done within each financial year. So within 12 months, within the 12 months of the year, one OSH audit must be done, and a report must be deposited to the DOSH officer, that the Director of Occupational Safety and Health. So this report has to contain some issues which I think we've listed here. In terms of, we'll do the desk audit. Desk audit is just to get to know if the paperwork is okay, if you people meet as committee, if you people make deliberations, if there are any reported cases of injuries, how did you respond, or how did you handle them? How are they handled? If there was need for compensation, were people compensated? How was the compensation? Was it relative within the legal framework? Because remember, we are saying that Occupational Safety and Health and the WIBA Act are like sister acts, in the sense that they tend to define, one tends to define the role of the other in case of any eventuality per se. And therefore, once we've done the desk audit, then we'll go to assess each and every department and sections, depending with what has been captured in the Occupational Safety and Health policy manual, or the procedures put in place. Because auditing is just the process of just assessing the feasibility of the existing systems. And these systems are as protected within the policy and within the frameworks of the committee roles and duties in their day-to-day activity. So we'll be looking at that. And then through this process, we'll always have a policy for auditing in terms of designation, the scope of audit, how much do you want to cover, the frequency of audit, and also the methodology and the implementation of any recommendations. I've just listed some of the areas that, in terms of scope, that we tend to look at when it comes to the issues of auditing a site. So the list is too long, and also because of time, I may not be able to go through all of them, but we're just saying that we'll audit your policy. How is it? Is it viable? Does it meet the expectations according to the Act? Is it too reflective of the workstation and the type of activities and roles played? And also, does it reflect what the Act itself stipulates? And then its participation, feasibility, the systems, documentation, the reporting, the meetings, management, because at some point during the audit, we interview the employees. At some point, we interview the management. At some point, we interview the OSH committee itself. So it's a whole process that gives a clear picture in terms of what necessarily happens within the given workstation, and also as defined by the Act itself. So some of the issues that also we are mentioning is that the OSH system that is functional, identify hazards, assess risks, and selects, and also is implementable and monitors the actions put in place from time to time. At the end of the day, remember we said, this is why we are having the Occupational Safety and Health in the first place, is to ensure that we reach somewhere. It's not like it's an open system that as long as you've put in place an OSH program, then that's the end of it. What companies want to achieve is to be ISO certified. So we have the ISO 45001 of 2018. This is the certification that we get if we fully put in place a system that is functional. One, we have a policy in place that is functional and reflective. We have a committee that is very active, that is both proactive and reactive. That is, they put measures before of preventing any risk and hazards. And in the process, in the eventuality of any threat or any accident, then they have to find ways of reducing future occurrences and also compensation where need be. So this certification or certification is basically to provide certain measures that needs to be looked into to safeguard the safety of the employees, and also to safeguard and control the nature of the hazards within our given workstations. And therefore, for an institution to be certified, then we are saying that basically one, it has found or been able to protect the workforce and others under its control. It has complied to the legal requirements, and also it has facilitated continual improvement, either through sensitization, training, and others. Okay, so remember, this ISO certified has moved from the 20081 to the 2018 one. It has been a number of improvement and regulations that have been foreseen from time to time. So just as I come just towards the end of the proceeding of what basically we are trying to capture, we're just saying that occupational safety and health is wide, and its wideness is defined by how best we put in place approaches that will safeguard how we handle and how we manage occupational safety and health. So what we do basically as Capacity Spring Africa consultants is that we provide these spaces. Apart from just supporting institutions on the issues of human resource, we take upon ourselves to move a step further and identify safety and healthy issues well tailor-made in conjunction with the social welfare programs within the facility. So the occupational safety and health in this case is in terms of what does the Act say. For example, the Act says that each and every employee has a right to stay away from danger, okay? And therefore you cannot penalize such an employee from moving away from danger, okay? So how is that captured and how is that ensured? That if an employee feels like their working place is at risk and they report, the OSH committee or the Human Resource Committee takes upon itself and respond to it. For example, the sittings or the seats, we usually see that being human resource managers or those in the human resource or management role status. In most cases, we've seen these scenarios whereby we've done recruitment, we've brought in staff, but we don't know where they're going to sit. I don't know if that's a common practice that we've experienced, that we don't consider as part of our planning in most cases. We don't plan for the onboarding process to the end, because this is where OSH comes in. As part of the onboarding process, how do we ensure that as we bring in the checklist that we have, one of the things that we take is the safety and health issues in terms of the work environment of the employees. This is a very important key point that we may pick as human resource team. And then we can ask ourselves in terms of safety measures. Fire has been used. If you look at the Act, fire has been used as the basic disaster system to use to reflect other hazards, because fire cuts across. Unlike other hazards like exposure to radiation and others, for fire, it tends to cut across. And because of that, it has been used in the Act to measure or as a case study for reference. Some of us, we have fire extinguishers and we don't know how to use them. Some of us, we have fire extinguishers which are never serviced, because fire extinguisher needs to be serviced at least twice in a year, depending with how the nature of the facility or institution. And also the fire extinguisher needs to be functional and it needs to be tested from time to time if it's functional or working. Another issue is in terms of the sitting position, as I mentioned. How should the seats look like? How is our sitting habit per se? And how do we act? In terms of welfare, do we have adequate washrooms or toilets? Let me just call them toilets in this context. The ratio given is between 7 to 1. For every 7 employees, we should have 1 toilet. I know you work in scenarios whereby 1 toilet is used, or washroom or lavatory is used by 100. So in case of any outbreak, in terms of infection, you can imagine how many people will be infected in the process. So those ratios are put in place to safeguard those places. Also to mention, there are those people who, because it's a process that we are learning and engaging, we are saying that as part of welfare programs, people should not eat on their desks. I think this is a common practice that we experience. For these people who work in office, our desk is the office and is the table for eating. So people may look at it as just bad manners, but in safety aspect, it has some ramification. Because generally, we usually say that change is as good as rest. And if you were to apply that, then that few minutes that you wake up from your seat to go and eat in the dining hall or in the eating area and come back, that change is good for you psychologically as you do your day-to-day activity. So there are some measures that are just put in place to safeguard the employees as they articulate their day-to-day processes. So we are saying that the purpose of this was just to sensitize, to bring to us, to just basically understand that there's the act in place that needs to be fully implemented. And we being the HR and the administrators, then we have a very important role in ensuring that, especially on the administrative part, that we live to that issue, that we ensure that safety measures are put in place and they are implemented. We just don't want to do it for compliance, but we are doing it for the safety and health of the employees. So in case of injury, because we've seen scenarios whereby an employee gets injured, yet one, the site has not been certified or registered. Two, the environment is not safe enough, and therefore somebody gets injured. So what happens in this case? What are the legality or legal ramifications put in place? So if you look at, I think it's section 18 of the Act, it clearly talks of the punitive aspect, because each and every law comes with regulations, and this comes with the issues of punishment. If you have a site with more than 7 people, that site needs to be registered. And once that's been registered, then inspection has to be done, and the following processes then move on that we've stipulated. So if somebody gets injured and the site has been registered, it is easy, because one will say, one, he's complied, the site is registered. Two, he's put in safety measures. Three, this is likely to be just a mere accident. But if you're not registered, so one, negligence is one of the things you're going to face. That's a different illegality. Two, non-compliance, that's a different illegality. And then three, compensation. It means you may end up parting with a lot of money in that context. But you're saying that if we just comply, then try as much as possible to implement the basics in terms of safety measures, then you may get to that point whereby now we live within those expectations that has been put in place. And some of the few measures that we are just mentioning is that at least if there's office of 7 people, let one to be trained as a first aider, just in case of any eventuality. We need to have waters in our offices. In every first aid, in most first aids, the first medicine is always water. Like if you faint today, we'll use water, okay? If you're bleeding, we'll use water. Whichever it is, most of the first aids will need water. And in this case, needs to be clean running water. So you can have it in that context put in place. So we're saying that just as a measure, we need to adopt this occupational safety and health. And as I mentioned, Capacity Spring Africa consultants, we are more than willing to support you in the process, either as a third party, second party, or first party. Will be willing to support in the process of first understanding the components of occupational safety and health, and also trying to implement. So due to time and also due to other factors, I'll request to post there and give space for any question, clarification as I hand it back. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Okello. I think we should appreciate him. And the way we are going to do it online is to go to our chat box and just write well done, or very well, or very good. Yeah, that's how we are going to appreciate it. Thank you so much. He's taken us through the whole work-life safety and health at workplace. He's described the word safety and health according to WHO. And of course, there are some picture there you can see. That one is like it's posing some risks to our life. And that is why we are talking about the work-life safety and health. So he's given us a foundation. There are so many factors, and there is a pie that he explained. We talked about protection. We talked about the employer and the government. So when we talk about the protection, we are actually concerned with the employees. There are some acts that are involved, and there are some principles, and of course, the administration of these acts. It touched on documentation, and the documentation should explain the what, the how, the who, and the length of the service of, if you've chosen a committee for that case, what is their role? And he explained the reason why we should communicate the document to the organization or employees. And he actually explained the objectives of a program. And he further explained the risks that are involved. And there is something about evaluation which is very critical. And there are some methods that are involved. The M&E, investigation, audit, and management reviews. Implementation is the giraffe. I think that there is a question that he posed before he started explaining this thing. And he said, how do you put a giraffe into a refrigerator? And one of the people there, participants, is trying to answer that question. And he said that you just open the fridge and you put the giraffe. So I don't know, we will discuss that. Back to you, members. I think we are receiving the questions, and the order in which you are going to do it is that you raise up your hand and then you ask the question, and Mr. Okello will answer that question. So straight to question and answer. Silence means what? Okay, looks like we are okay. Or there is no question? Any question? Okay, so I think since there are no questions, can we call it a day? No, let me ask a question. I'm not too sure whether this giraffe is inside the refrigerator.
Okay. Probably before George comes in addressing the issue of giraffe, and since probably there are no questions from members, I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank all the members who are able to find time to attend this training. Secondly, just as a recap on all the things that we've done, and so that you can be able to see a way forward on it. One is that we all agree that human resources are key factors in terms of productivity. Secondly, we are appreciating that there is Occupational Health and Safety Act that is in place, and it's supposed to be under the docket of human resource professionals. This act then, of course, involves the issues of understanding and the implementation. What we are also saying is that beyond the compliance issues, we also need just to appreciate the issues of ISO certification, so that we can be able to go beyond the compliance issues. Last but not least, is just to encourage ourselves that this component of occupational health and safety sometimes may not be well understood, especially when you're doing it virtually. Some of the aspects can be easily can easily be demonstrated through practical kind of an arrangement. And therefore, we'll always encourage that when somebody finds time, then they can be able to get an opportunity to ensure that they attend some of the forums that can be able to demonstrate in practically all these kind of issues. And we are just trying to say that Capacity Spring Africa is well placed in terms of ability to demonstrate in a real scenario how these things work and how it can be implemented. And therefore, we encourage that if there's any probably employer or probably agents of employers through human resource management, then we'll always want to encourage that we are always available for that support. And just to confirm that we are stationed at the IMA Towers in Eldoret at 13th floor. So just to end, I just want to say thank you so much for your time and for listening to us. And want to wish you a nice evening before we return it to now the leadership of North Rift region. Asante sana. Thank you.
So thank you.
Mr. Bade wants to say anything? Okay.
No, I just said thank you for the presentation. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tim. Just to echo what Mr. Jonathan has mentioned, I just want to respond because we said you want to see what's the relationship between the giraffe and the meeting today. So I know most of us were not didn't respond. Maybe I can give you 1 minute to respond. What do you think we should do? How do you put a giraffe into a refrigerator? Maybe 1 or 2, then we explain. Valentine, anything? Yes, Evangeline. I can see Evangeline is raising her hands.
Okay, good evening. This is Evangeline Alexandria Cancer Center Hospital. I think you'll have to open the fridge, then you take the giraffe and you put it inside.
Yes, Evangeline.
Thank you so much, Evangeline, for that response. So that we don't take much of our time, and I can see the 2 responses that we received, all of them are correct. But we just want to, George probably will highlight the reason why he was bringing in that question, so that we can be in the same way of understanding. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Basically, the answer is very simple. You just open the door of the refrigerator and you usher in the elephant or the giraffe. I know most of us were imagining how can a giraffe fit in a refrigerator. But what they should know is that the question did not say the size of the refrigerator. I just mentioned refrigerator. So we have big refrigerators in which an elephant can fit. But basically, the purpose of this question is that sometimes we tend to neglect the basics because of their nature. Remember, human beings think from known to unknown. So when somebody asks about a refrigerator, most of us go back home and see their refrigerator in the house. But that's how they limit it. They can't think beyond that because we think from known to unknown. But basically what you're trying to say is that as human resource, as managers, we need to just think outside the box. That's basically what it is. Let's be informed by not the normalcy at our respective workstations, but try to reach out and see what are the best practices out there and what are the best approaches in issues of staff welfare, safety, and health, so that we make the best. Because remember, when the staff are safe and healthy, productivity level automatically goes up. And this is a plus in building a capacity of our staff. And this is a plus in ensuring safety and measures are articulated within the confines of the Occupational Safety and Health Act. Otherwise, thank you very much, guys. Have a lovely evening. Enjoy your evening and also your weekend. I think maybe through CS, I know most of us can access his contacts, or he can type his contacts at the type section, so that in case somebody will want to inquire more about safety and health issues and capacity, to join us. And also we want to take this opportunity to thank you so very, very much the IHRM for coming up with this meeting and ensuring that it comes to play and it happens. Thank you very much, team. Madam Zipporah and the team, thank you very much, and God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, members, and thank you very much, our facilitator today, Mr. Kipchoge, and the team from Capacity, Spring Africa, Mr. Okello. And I was actually wondering why we are choosing Mr. Okello, but then I've come to realize that it is very important to have some anthropology. Yeah, when you are dealing with safety and health at the workplace, you must have some history. Yeah, and he explained where we came from and where we are, and maybe where we will be in the near future. And he avoided using the word colonialism. Yeah, if you are following his presentation. And but we have the history with us. So I think I'll still give 1 minute to Mr. Kipchoge to clarify something. And then if Mr. Jackson Isaac is in the house, I'll give him 5 minutes to introduce himself. And I'll also give, if the CM or the council member in this region, that is Beatrice Cherotich, if she's in the house, she will give remarks before we conclude this meeting. Karibu sana, Mr. Kipchoge.
Thank you much, Zipporah. I think basically it was just a follow-up on the issues of what George has mentioned. And the issue was bringing that scenario of the rapport to avoid the issue of conditioning. And I thought I could just mention, especially as HR professionals, we are used to compliance issues instead of also thinking beyond the compliance. And we should be able now to think outside the box by avoiding the issues of conditioning, so that we don't limit ourselves to the things that are done on a day-to-day basis. Otherwise, it was just a follow-up, nothing so much on that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm so much encouraged that we have 26 members attending this training, and I'm so much encouraged. Is Jackson Isaac in the house? From NITA? Okay, if he's not in, then is Beatrice Cherotich, our council representative in this region, is she in yet? Okay, so none of them is here. go straight to our thank you note. And one of our members who is the official in this region, I've seen Judith Sigino. Please kindly say a word of thank you to the members and the facilitator.
Okay, good evening, members.
Good evening to you.
I'm Judith Sigino, a member of, an official member of North Rift. And I want to thank all the members who have chosen to be in today's meeting. The sacrifice is not going to waste. I want to believe you've learned something. And as to me also, thank you, the facilitator of today. It was well educative and grateful for all of you. Thank you. Good evening.
Okay, thank you so much, Judith. And I think we should close this meeting, and a volunteer should say a word of prayer before we, A volunteer, please.
Okay, let us pray. Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, let us pray. Thank you, Father, for this session. Thank you, God, for Capacity Spring Consultants. Thank you for what they've taught. We thank you for the gathering of members. We pray that everything they've taught, we may be able to put them into practice to help our different organizations grow, and also to enrich our employees and help them in capacity building. Thank you for this evening. Even as we're about to depart to our different destinations, we ask for your grace and we ask for your favor. For this we pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Is that Caroline?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
I am here with my boss. Her name is Noel. She would also like to confirm her presence.
Oh, okay.
We are
So
from
do you
Fountain
think she can
Healthcare.
say hi to us?
Yes, she can.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, how are you, everyone?
Hi.
We are
Hi,
fine.
everyone. Yeah, thank you. I've been following the class through Carol's phone, and thank you so much, Jonathan and George, for the informative lesson. I think we have something to take home. Thank you very much, the organizers too.
Okay, I'm happy to hear about that. Thank you so much. Which company is that?
Fountain Healthcare, Eldoret.
Oh, Fountain.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Fountain. You're welcome. So, is there any other business? Yes, someone's raising up a hand. Kennedy? Is that Kennedy?
Kennedy, unmute.
Okay, I think if there is no any other business, may I take this opportunity to declare this training officially closed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like the training was interesting. Still, it's like we should have a phase 2 of this training or what?
Yes, we should. Next time, let's make it physical.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm noting.
Okay.
Yes. Bye-bye. Bye, Lazarus. Bye, Agnes. Bye, Catherine.
Bye.
Bye, Evangeline. Bye, Alicia.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Josephine.
See also Ken Kira from.
Yeah, bye, Joylene. Bye, Kennedy. Bye, Coach.
Sasa Ken.
Bye, Martin. Bye, Sharon. Valentine. Bye, my friend. Bye, Karen. Okay, bye-bye. Institute, bye.